Now let us take a look at the different functions on the Model 6300. To enter the function menu, you will push this button. That will give you 9 different functions. The first one is the view limit. When you click on that, that will allow you to see whatever hard limits are set for the tester right now. As you can see, max knot is set at 500 knots, so the tester will not be able to go above 500 knots. Minimum knots is set at -50, so the tester will not be able to go below -50 knots. Max knot per minute is set at 500 knots, so that's the maximum rate you'll be able to achieve on the PT channel. Max mat is set at 1. Max feet is set at 55,000 feet, so the tester will not be able to go above 55,000 feet. Minimum feet set at -2,000, so same, it won't be able to go below -2,000. And the max rate is set at 6,000 feet per minute. The tester will not be able to go above 6,000 feet per minute or -6,000 feet per minute. Now, if you're working on different airframes and you need to change that, you will click cancel here, push function, go to modify limits, enter the password that you can find in the user manual if it is available to you. And from there, you'll be able to modify the limits for your test set. Note that there are some hard limits that are wired into this test set, so you will never be able to go above certain limits. For example, if I want to change my max altitude, here max feet, I will push number 5, and I will be given the choice to enter a value between 5,000 and 100,000. Here, for example, if I push number 1 to change my maximum airspeed, I will be given the choice between 100 and 690 knots. If I want to change that to 690, I put 690, enter, and now this is my new hard limit. Note that when I'm trying to enter a value that is higher than 690 knots, I will get an error message that I will show you right now. Here, I push on the blue box for PT, enter 700, which is above the limit, click enter, and I will get an error message saying Pitot target exceeds limit. Press clear and enter a new value as long as it is within the range that was decided in the modify limits. I will be able to enter that value. Coming back in the modify limits function menu, I have minimum knots set at -50 here. That is a good value. I would not recommend putting 0 or even -5 or 10, because if you set your airspeed at 0 here, you might have a small variability, and if it goes below the 0 knots limit, the tester will stop telling you that the limit has been passed. So leave it at a small negative value. -50 is usually good for most aircraft. If you have a very sensitive analog instrument, you can set it at -20, -10 maybe, but try not to do it at 0. Okay, if I go back in the functions, here is brightness. That is to select the brightness on the wired remote. Function 4 is going to be run profile. So that's an interesting one. On this Model 6300, you can run different profiles. You can load up to 15 profiles. Each profile can have up to 50 steps. And so by loading profile, you automate the process of your AMM procedure. The way to launch that is by pushing the profile number first. So let's say profile 15, then putting a dot, and then putting the step number. So you can start at step number 1. You can start at step number 20 if you want, 30, or 32, 47. You can start at any step you want. If you need to restart a check that you have left because you had another emergency, you can start it at a later step. Then I click enter, and that will launch the profile 15, step number 1. It will give me the name of that profile, so I make sure that whatever I'm entering is right. And then it will start populating the 4 target boxes here for the rates and for the actual values. And as usual, it's blinking, so it's gonna wait for me to confirm. As soon as I click on go, the test set will actually get to the desired target. As soon as I reach the target, it's gonna be a little bit longer. What I can do is use the up and down arrows to navigate between the steps in my profiles. So in the profile 15, I want to go to step number 2, so it's going to be 15.2. I just have to use the up arrow, and that will send me to step number 2. As you can see, the rates are the same, and the target values have changed. This is actually a short version of the FAR 91.411 check. And when I'm ready, I click on go. So you get the idea. You can keep moving up step by step by just pushing the up arrow and then clicking go. All you have to do is wait for the test set to reach the target that you've set and then push the up arrow and go. So it really simplifies the test, avoids like having to push buttons and generate potential errors. Function 5 is going to allow the test set to receive profiles whenever you're downloading them in the box. That is described in a separate training video. When you click on this, you will now set the box in receiving mode for downloading profiles. When you're done, you click on go. Let's now take a look at function 6, height correction. So height correction is useful when you have a large aircraft that you're testing and the difference of clearance between your test set and the air data computer that you're testing, typically at the level of the pitot probe, is pretty high. If you want to compensate for that altitude, what you'll do is just input a value here in feet, and that will make your test set believe that it is so many feet higher to compensate for a tester that is below the aircraft, or so many feet lower to compensate for a tester that is above the aircraft itself, typically on scaffoldings. So to do that, we're gonna input 10 feet and believe that, you know, the tester is about 10 feet below the aircraft. So we'll push 10 here, press enter. And now as you can see, 10 feet are being included additionally to the PS channel. To confirm, I can click on go, or to cancel, I can click on cancel. I click on go to confirm. Every time you restart the box, the altitude height correction will be set back to 0, so you don't have to worry about checking that every single time. Going back into functions, we can now take a look at the leak timers. Leak timers, as we saw earlier during the leak check, will allow you to change the different timers depending on your AMM procedure or your work card. So this is a setup for the Airbus aircraft, usually 1 minute and then 5 minutes and 10 minutes for the pitot leak. Of course, you can change it to whatever you want. So for example, if I want to change my leak timer number 2, I push on 2 here and set 2 minutes. This is a good way of doing the leak check as well. If your AMM is asking you to wait for 1 minute before starting a 1 minute leak check, you can start the leak check immediately, wait for 1 minute, do not record that value, and then wait for the second minute and record the value that you'll find on the second minute. When you're done, you can cancel out. Function 8 is going to be for the calibration part. This is for us to calibrate the unit or for your company's calibration laboratory if it has one. So we'll not be looking at that today. And finally, function 9 is the encoder. This is an option. If you do have that option, you can click on encoder here. What it will do is whenever the encoder is connected to the unit, it will read the gray code and make sure that the gray code matches with the flight level at which you are. So you can enter different altitude here by pressing 6. You enter your target altitude, for example, 5,000 feet. And you will get to 5,000 feet immediately. And you'll be able to read the gray code as it shows up on the encoder. So this is just a quick way to make sure that your encoder is working properly and sending the right altitude values to your transponder. You can also change the rates here by clicking